Hello and welcome to Top of Mind with Ann and Rachel. My name is Rachel Prophet and my pronouns are she, her. I'm a white woman with long red hair that's pulled up today. I'm wearing a gray t shirt and my rose colored glasses, and I am not in my office. I've got a blur background of a fake living room behind me, although I do happen to be in my living room today. Ann, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I am Ann Krupke. My pronouns are she, her. I am a white woman with brown hair that's in a bun. I am wearing a what is that? Gray shirt today and some over-the-ear headphones. And I'm also a fast track solution architect.
Awesome. Well, every week we come on here and we banter about whatever's top of mind. I don't really have a topic that's Dynamics 365 related today, so we could always just do whatever. But I just want to, like, the thing that's been most top of mind, it's probably been top of mind for me for like a month now, and is like health and well being and that work life balance. Um, I just feel like I've been sent through the ringer lately
Yeah.
with my life, and it's weird now trying to get back into the swing of things and give work the right amount of balance so that I feel like I can be successful. It's interesting. I think a lot of people are maybe in the opposite place where like their work seems like it's overwhelming their life, but my life is overwhelming my life. So it's been definitely an interesting journey, I think, the last 4 to 6 weeks for me. Um, and just like trying to figure out how to like come back to work after being on vacation and like getting through the inbox. I don't know if we've got listeners out there and you've like experienced this before, like give us your questions, give us your comments. Like we'd love to hear from you. But I don't know, Ann, do you have anything that's top of mind?
I do. So one thing that is super I don't know, special to me is mentorship, as I think Rachel, you well know. Um, I've had so many really wonderful mentors along the way who have helped me develop to where I am. And I'm really grateful for that. And I want more people to be able to access those kind of resources that I had. Um, and to that effect, I have been working with our folks at Dynamics User Group and Nancy Calder at Avanade and Nicole Gump from Microsoft. She's been on our show before. I've been working with them to start up a mentorship initiative through Dynamics User Group. And right now, we are currently looking for applicants to be on the leadership committee for that, the programming committee. So I can pop a link up on the
Yeah, that's
screen.
awesome. I remember I saw those links. On the topic of mentorship, we've got some mentorship programs here internally at Microsoft, and I just recently joined. It's WEBA, Women in Business Applications mentorship group. So I signed up to be a mentor, and I've got another woman that is joining me with that. And we have a group of 8 mentees that we're going to be mentoring for the next 3 months. So I'm super
That's awesome.
excited for that. I think it's interesting though that you mentioned that. I think like there's so many people out there that have so much to offer as well. Like,
Yeah.
so don't sell yourself short. Like if you've been in this industry for 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years, however long, um, I think the reality is you've got something to share. Um,
Yeah. That was
and
a big
I would tell people, don't be afraid to share whatever it is you've
yeah.
got. Like, I think it was even for me, like I've been doing this for 20 years. It's very easy to sign up to get a mentor and like say that you need to be mentored, but it probably puts you a little bit more out of your comfort zone to actually sign up to be a mentor. And I would
Yeah.
encourage people to like, you know, you were there once, right? You were that new employee trying that thing for the first time. Whatever it was, I think every single one of us has something to offer and share, like your experience. Even if your experience was bad, that's still something, right? Like to share,
Yeah.
because that's how
I
we
mean, I'll
learn,
say
that's how we grow.
I'm a lot newer to the industry than you are, right? I'm like just over the 5 year mark, and I've been super kind of like feeling like, oh, am I ready to be a mentor? Like, do I know enough? And um I did get over that. I've got a couple mentees now, and one of the people that I've been working with, her name is Marin, and she's amazing. She's mentors her people herself, and I really like working with her because I know a lot of stuff about F&O, and she's learning F&O, so I can mentor her kind of on that. But she also has all these other experiences and insights that she can share with me that like I learn. I think it's a two-way relationship, and we have this tendency to say like one person is the mentor and one person is the mentee. But when I think about honestly any of my relationships with mentors or like it's been give and take. Like I look at your and my relationship, and you were
Yeah.
definitely a big mentor for me when I joined Microsoft, and I think that we give and take it to each other, and
Yeah.
I like that
I,
part so
I
much.
mean, even though I've been doing this Dynamics 365 thing for so many more years, I feel like, and I like, even though we've never formally said that we're mentors or mentees, I feel like you're a person that I go to, and I've learned a lot from you. Your experiences are just different. You've worked at different places, you've had different experiences. And I think a lot about mentorship is sharing experiences and, um, you know, I took some mentorship training. I don't remember. It's been several years since I took it, but one of the things I learned when I took the training about how to be a mentor was that you shouldn't like tell your mentees what to do.
Yeah,
It's more like posing questions. You can share your own experiences, but then like posing the question of like it's like asking the question, well, what do you think you should do?
yeah,
Like um and if whatever they say is maybe in your mind the not the best idea, you don't say, well, I don't think you should do that, or I think you should do that.
you just say,
You
have you
just
thought
ask
about
more
this, or
questions.
what if
Yeah.
this happens as a result of that? Like you, that is a really hard skill to learn, but it's a really good one, and I think it also makes you better at like doing your job in general.
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, I feel like mentorship is just like professional friendship, right? It's like workplace friendship. Like you and I we've probably crossed the boundaries to a little bit more friendship, but I feel like that's what true mentorship is really just friendship in the professional world where you're because friendships should be give and take, and they don't necessarily have to be one or the other. So I think it's this Doug program. I'm really excited about it. I'm really looking forward to the candidates that we get, and then to see what kind of stuff we all put together. I think there's a lot of different opportunities for helping people engage in mentorship, whether it's career advice, learning a new product, or just like soft skills or whatever different thing that you want to learn. Um, there's a lot of opportunity there. And I know Rachel, you in particular, you mentor a lot of people who want to become MVPs, right?
Yep.
So I'd love if you could just kind of share like because I feel like you have like a top 5 pieces of advice that you give somebody who wants to either become an MVP or just increase their kind of their brand and their on their platform.
Yeah.
Like what are your top 5?
Number one, and I always start with this, and it's also number 2 and 3 on my list. No, like that. um, Number one, do what you already do and share it with the community. I think oftentimes I see people who like want to be an MVP, and maybe this is number 2 is stop comparing yourself to other people. Don't look at what somebody else is doing and say, well, but somebody else is already doing it. Like, but number one, do what you already do. Just share it with the community. So like whatever you're doing, it's kind of like what we do here on Top of Mind, right?
Yeah.
Like we get on here and we just do what we're already doing and we're sharing it with the community, right?
Yeah.
Like we chose this format because it's really low impact, like in terms of publishing. We already met once a week, so it was like, well, why don't we just go live and click the record button and like maybe somebody will get value out of it.
Yeah.
But like if you're working for a specific customer and you solve a problem for them, they ask you a question, Write it
Write a
down.
blog post.
Write a blog
No.
post, make a video, like
Yeah.
take some screenshots. You might have to take the customer out of it unless you have their permission to share customer information. But if you do what you are already doing and writing about the problems you're solving, writing about the things that you're doing, even if you don't think it's super interesting, you're probably wrong
Yeah,
because
somebody's
it's
gonna have that issue. And the thing about, like, taking customer data out of it forces you to generalize the problem and to really be able to state the issue and what's going on there.
yeah,
And that shows that you understand what you're talking about. So I
yeah,
definitely agree it's valuable. Like, I think about how many times, even now, I Google an issue that I'm running into or a customer is running into, and I actually can't find an answer in Microsoft Docs, and I find like a blog post from the like AX7 days that is somehow still very relevant, and I'm like, this is exactly what I was looking for. Like,
yep,
that stuff is super valuable, and it's like a living resume of your knowledge set and your ability to write technically, communicate information, and solve problems. So, like,
yep.
yeah,
Yeah. So number two was stop comparing, right? A lot of the people that I've mentored who wanted to become MVPs or wanted to be like more involved with the community spent an awful lot of time comparing themselves to other people and what other MVPs were doing or what other bloggers were doing or other podcasts were doing, etc. Stop comparing. Like, even if you're writing about similar topics, your experience is unique. Like, don't steal other people's blogs,
yeah,
but like write what your experience was, because your experience and your viewpoint, people might disagree with you, and that's okay,
yeah,
right? And that maybe that's number three, is like it's okay if your community disagrees, but you have to learn from it.
yeah. Maybe number three is don't be afraid to be wrong, I think.
Yeah, but
Um,
yeah, and you have to own it. Like, if you are wrong, um own it. Don't try to
yeah,
like be the know-it-all.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
think kind of like in sort of in addition to don't compare is like I think the best attitude that you can have as somebody who like has a community platform of any kind is that there is more than enough room for everyone at the table. And in fact, like our goal should be to get more people to the table.
hmm,
So,
I
you
agree.
know, like I, I for sure sometimes I find myself getting competitive. You see a blog
It's because you're
article that was like
comparing.
ripped off of a PowerPoint that you built, like, you know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah,
there is more, and then you have to reframe it to like, wow, my work was good enough that it inspired somebody else to keep talking about it. Or now there's somebody else in this space who knows a lot more than they did, right? Like, yeah,
yep,
it's not about comparing. It's like there is room for everybody at the table, and by celebrating each other, we all help kind of
yeah,
everybody grow versus like trying to compete to be the best, because there is no such thing as like the best, because everybody has, like you said, something like a different experience or something different to bring to the table.
yeah. Do you want to hear my tip number four? I just
I think
made
we
it
should
up in
talk
my.
about not being wrong and like
Oh, oh
how
yeah.
like
So,
though
yep.
but yes, I do want to hear tip number 4, but
Well, you shouldn't post like inaccurate information on purpose, for sure.
no.
Like, but right, your experience, right, might surface like that you did something in one way and somebody else might have done it in a different way, or ask questions and you go research it and find that it was incorrect. You know what? That's just another opportunity to share with the community.
Yeah. I mean, it
Like,
sometimes it cements things. So, like, not to, I actually, somebody who taught me how to be graceful
mm,
was actually you, Rachel. When we did, well, I don't know if you remember this, but when we did our Costing Tech Talk series, we were talking about like what storage dimensions we could include in the cost price and
mhm,
like site and warehouse. And then somebody asked if location can be included, and you were like, yeah. And then I was like, oh, really? And so I went off and checked, and I came back and I said, hey, Rachel, just want to make sure we've got it on the record. Like, location is not allowed. And you're like, oh, good catch, Anne. Like, thanks for checking that. And like, they probably changed it because it complete, adds complexity or whatever. Because it was like that previously, right?
Right.
And what I think the important things that happened there were, one, we got the right answer out there and on the record so people knew it, but also like it wasn't like, ha, Rachel, I got you, and you're like, oh my God, Anne, why would you say that? You were like, oh yeah, like that's good to know, and like I can use that information to like help me, right? Like I think
Yep.
there is like a skill in terms of saying, I can learn from that, and it's not as like shameful as you might think it might be. And I don't want people to feel like they can't go for things because they're afraid that they're going to get wrong and called out for it. Like,
Yep.
everybody's been wrong at some time in their life. Like, I'm wrong all the time. Rachel's been
Yep.
wrong once, so only that one time.
Only that one time. I wish
But
that
yeah,
was true, but um
so like another way that you've given me an example of how I can not be afraid to be wrong.
yeah.
What's tip number 4? Lay it on
Network,
me.
network, network.
I can't type
So
that fast.
the thing I would say about networking, I, I assume you've seen the movie Field of Dreams,
If
and
you build it,
hopefully,
they come.
yeah, if you build it, they will come. Networking is not like that. I mean, maybe at some point it will be like that. I mean, people find me, and I don't know how people find me. So some people find me, but especially when you're getting started and you're trying to build a network, it is not the field of dreams. You have to go find people. You have to be willing to connect and follow others. And if you're sharing and you're doing something, they will follow you back. Uh, it's really intimidating. I think when I first started and I didn't have a Twitter profile, and I didn't really have, I had a LinkedIn profile, but I hadn't really put a lot of effort into it.
Hmm.
Um, it's like, you have to put effort into it. And so the kind of way that I started, like, okay, I got well, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X, by the way. I keep forgetting, like, that icon it's no more little birdie. It's an X now. When I first started my X profile back when it was called Twitter and I had no followers, um, I spent one weekend and went out there and I found the other people, right, that I wanted to embody like what they were doing. I found other MVPs and other like Microsoft people that were in the community. And I literally just started following them. And then I followed all of their people, right? And then step 2 is that you have to actually share. So, like, once you start following people, oftentimes they'll follow you back and you have to share, right? Which kind of goes back to number 1.
Yep.
But if somebody comments or likes on something you post, connect with them, say thanks, give it the thumbs up, right? It's very easy to kind of sit behind your computer and like take the human aspect out of it. And so you have to like intentionally put the human aspect back in it. If you were having a real life conversation with someone and you told them something and they complimented your work, you would say thank you. And so if somebody compliments your work digitally, make sure that you're thanking them back, like digitally thanking them. And that is, I think, how you really start to grow your network and build the brand that, you want to be.
Yeah, I agree.
It,
I think too, another way, just a plug for your local user groups or meetups, is that's a
Mhm.
really good way to start the network, right? Like, if you
Mhm.
want, sometimes it's easier to meet people in person if you're like not really sure what you're doing from a social media perspective yet, right?
Mhm.
Like, building a network with local people who are interested in the same topics as you, and you might pick up a mentor who's near you that you can spend some time with. So
And that's a great tip. I mean, I think even at the beginning, right? I actually started my X profile. It was one of the user group summits. I don't remember what year it was, but Twitter was kind of like new, and they were doing this whole Twitter thing, and they had the live Twitter board back then. And I I literally, everyone I met, it was like if I had a conversation with them, I was like, are you on, like, let's connect. So I think it's like remembering that when you meet people, connect with them. I even do it like when I meet new customers on the phone, virtually. I'll go connect with them on LinkedIn. And I like, as a neurodivergent person who struggles with like social situations, I have a tendency to like go LinkedIn stalk people that I'm going to be like, if I look at my meetings and like who's going to be on it, I will go LinkedIn stalk people just to see like who are they, what do they do, like, et cetera, so that I know a little bit about them.
Hmm.
I've actually found that that helps me build relationships. I think it's just because I tend to be like it, like so new social interactions with new people are hard for me. So like I do it and I connect with them. I usually wait until after I've met them to like, do the connect thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll do it ahead of the meeting and just type a note in that's like looking forward to meeting you
Yeah.
on your meeting. So that's another great way to kind of find people and build your network.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
Do I have to come up with a fifth one? I
you,
haven't been I
I'll
haven't
add
been thinking
number
ahead to
4.
it.
Yeah, you think, well, I add to number 4 as well. Some advice that somebody gave me once that was really good was also like follow companies in
Mm,
industries that you're interested in, or it that like similar to your customers. Um,
yeah.
sorry, somebody, I got distracted by this comment from Mark. I think that's a good joke. I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken. It's now your catch 22 of being wrong. Um, but the like so following, I mean, like you could follow Harvard Business Review, Forbes, like the people who are generating like thought leadership articles, but you can also just follow like
Partner.
if you work with like a lot of like life sciences, follow some pharmaceutical companies, or if you work in manufacturing, follow some manufacturing companies. But it also helps you kind of build that scope of what's going on in builds your like repertoire too, right? So it's not quite the same thing as building like a direct person to person network, but if we're talking about what to do on your feed, like I definitely think following companies or like
And
publicly
joining groups,
and
right?
joining groups, yeah, super
Yeah.
great.
Join groups that are relevant. Like there's groups for everything. Like I'm in a handful of groups, like training has always been like a big one for me. So I'm in a handful of groups that are just a bunch of training managers and people that do training for a living. It's something I've always been passionate about. And,
Hmm.
I don't always very actively participate, but sometimes I get really interesting posts up in my feed. But I follow all the big tech companies. I follow a lot of partners out in the Dynamics 365 industry. Like, so, those are some of the things that I do.
Yeah.
So,
You got to number 5 yet?
tip number 5.
I've got a tip. I don't know, maybe this is more of a debate
I'm ready for it.
topic, is specialization. Like,
Oh.
I think often the advice that's good, like easiest to give when you're starting is like focus on one piece and know that one piece really well.
Mhm.
Like, and I would say like I've probably gone through phases. Like when I started, I was super focused on manufacturing and like process manufacturing in particular. But lately I've been, and then we did costing. I got super focused on that, and then asset man. Like so, my journey has been a lot of focus on one thing, but then like pick another thing and focus on that. And of course, they're all supply chain topics because that's my background, but I have built some more breadth over topics over time, but I've
Yep.
always kind of specialized at one thing at a time. And like, so what do you think about that?
No, I think that's really good feedback, especially for someone who's new. I think even when I started, right, I was probably 10 years into my career when I started my blogging, and I had already been doing like I do it in my life, right? Like I kind
Yeah.
of jump from thing to thing to thing, right? And it's how I got finance background. I got projects experience. I got supply chain experience. I got purchasing. I got sales. I got point of sale. Like over all those 10 years and all these different experiences. And I think when I first started, it was definitely overwhelming because it was like, and I still feel this way. It's like I've got all this stuff in my brain, like floating around, and like, how do I get it out there? But I think you have to pick something and focus on it and do the one
Yes.
thing really well.
Hmm.
Um, and then you can start to expand out. If you're all over the place, like, I think it's hard for you to build a network of people who understand what you're about and what you're going to do. And I think it's easier to gradually grow and build onto it over time.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's been really helpful for me on my continued learning journey was the fact that we actually created the Purple Pillow Company. We
Oh, I
we
love the
set up
Purple Pill
an
Company.
entity from scratch, and then when we configured everything, instead of using Contoso data, we had to make up a scenario and then make up a design, right? Why would we do it this way? Like and that helped us formalize a lot of the recommendations that we made to people about how to properly implement areas, right? Like you have those experience every time you implement, if you're a functional consultant or even a technical consultant, every customer you work with, you get that experience of like designing a solution. But I think um, designing a solution with no requirements except the ones I make up was a super interesting exercise, because I had to think about what would a requirement be, why would it be reasonable, and then how would I design for that. Like it was a really
Right.
interesting exercise, and I think it really strengthened my understanding of certain areas of the system.
I think that next week, Anne, it would be fun if we go back to Purple Pillow Company and pick a feature and do this thing again with just
Yeah,
one of the features on the release notes. What do you think?
let's do
We
it.
just do it live, like talk
put
through our.
put a
I missed
suggestion to the
all of our
chat.
Purple Pillow Company stuff. Our coloring and our theming of the whole top of mine. It all came from Purple Pillow Company.
Yeah.
If I was going to design a pillow, it would look a lot like a purple pillow, especially. It would look a lot like our background here.
Yeah. I think we should do it. And if you have ideas about what feature from the latest, let's call it the latest 3 releases, so 36, 35, or 34, if you have a feature you want us to configure live in the Purple Pillow Company next week, let us know. With
It's
the
fair
exception
game
of
if you're watching
AI,
this
because
like
you have
on
to do
playback to
like,
type in the comments afterwards, by the way, too. Like, so if you're not watching live,
yeah,
it still counts. We do look at your comments. So
absolutely. Okay, well, that's the top 5 recommendations that you
did I
make to
mention
that I
that you
guess
should do what you're already doing and just share it with the community?
that is numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7?
Yeah. And then the
Yeah.
others were really just 8, 9, 10. Like,
Yeah,
if you're trying to like invent the wheel and air quote learn something new to share with the community, you're gonna find it really, really difficult to get started. Now, if you're learning something new for your job already and you share that experience of learning that new thing, fantastic. But if you're doing it for the sake of sharing it with the community, you're going to find it to be a lot of work. I think
definitely.
if I was to give a tip number 6, it was like I would probably give you the tip of like pick a medium, like a platform like that you're comfortable with. If you hate writing, don't make a blog.
Yeah.
If you love to talk though, maybe consider a podcast or a live broadcast like what we're doing.
Yeah, I
But
will
if you
say for
don't,
this format, it's been really awesome to be much more consistent about creating content for you and me, right? Like,
yeah,
because we come at the same time every week. We probably put about 15 minutes into like, are we gonna have a guest and who, and does it work out or whatever. But like we definitely, like, it's been great. I mean, I think that,
there's no editing required in this.
yeah, and I think the only thing is we are a bit further in terms of like our subject matter and expertise, so we have a little bit more to draw on in terms of not needing to do as much preparation for like
Yeah.
than if you're just getting started. But um yeah, I mean, well, also we just talk about what we're working on already, so we're immersed in.
We're doing number 1.
We are doing number 1. Look at us go.
Look at us go. That's how we did this and how we're building our network. So do number 1 and then do all the other ones too. But
Just
like
do it.
do it in a format that's easy for you, right? if you're already writing BRDs, technical specs, functional specs, whatever you're doing, emails, right? You probably already have a lot of this in writing. So maybe the blog is easier for you, even if you air quote hate writing. So think about the format that you already
Yeah.
have things in, and it's going to be the least amount of effort. You
Also,
can
if you
always go
use
back and
AI
add
to
a
help
video
you
demo later.
generate,
Oh yeah,
if
Chat
you if
GPT
you
is my
use
friend.
yes, but if you use AI to help you generate or format content, put a note at the bottom and say that. Like I think
Yes,
that's one of the things
just
like
claim
I
it.
found the responsible AI conversation is super interesting and like it's not like a negative thing. It's just like it's a good practice to note that some or all of this content or some part of this content was curated or generated by AI with editing, right? Like there's a docs article on it, isn't there? Like about how to properly
Yeah.
um
Well, and I even think we should look that up. And maybe it'd be awesome to like bring Donna Sarker on to talk
yes,
about
let's
responsible
do
AI because
mhm.
I learned everything I know about responsible AI from Donna, and she's amazing. And I'm sure she could share tons of resources for us. We
Yep.
are a little bit over, so we need to end. But
Just too
I
good
think
of
we've
a
got so many great
topic
ideas for
today.
our upcoming sessions. So we're just going to get on that, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Top of Mind with Ann and Rachel today. And we'll see you next time. Don't forget to hit the like and the bell and, get all of our notifications. Follow us. We'll see you next time.